Hello everyone, back again with movie and tune recap. Today, I'm going to explain an American slasher comedy horror film from 2023, titled Hell of a Summer. Spoilers ahead, so watch out and take care. On the last night before the counselors arrive, Camp Pineway owners John Hurwitz and Kathy Anderson relax by the campfire, with John playing his guitar. Kathy steps away to get more beer from the bunkhouse, leaving John alone at the fire. When she returns, she is horrified to find John brutally murdered with his own guitar. Terrified, she runs to her car to flee, but someone wearing a devil mask stabs her in the head from the back seat. The next day, Maggie Hochberg, disappointed that her 24-year-old son Jason refuses to move on with his life, drops him off for yet another summer at Camp Pineway. Jason, a devoted camp regular who dreams of running it someday, is teased for being older than the others. He helps Instagram-obsessed Demi with her luggage, and they're soon joined by the rest of the counselors: Chris, his best friend Bobby, his crush Shannon, Mike, dramatic actor Ezra, aspiring screenwriter Ari, vegan Miley, and goth girl Noelle. Jason runs into his ex-girlfriend, Claire, who's struggling to open her cabin door, and he helps her. When she asks why he came back to camp, Jason explains that John and Kathy asked him to return as an extra helping hand. When he asks why she came back, Claire says she needed to clear her mind after a breakup. Later, Jason visits the counselor's office and finds a note saying John and Kathy had to leave due to an emergency. Seeing this as his chance to finally run the camp, he happily puts himself in charge. To help everyone focus on having fun and avoid social media distractions, he asks all the counselors to put their phones in a basket. The group spends the day partying on the lake, drinking, smoking, and hooking up. While Claire practices archery, Jason approaches and notices her aim hasn't improved. He tries to help her with her technique but becomes uneasy, realizing that John and Kathy still haven't returned. While washing Chris' car, Bobby is approached by Shannon, who wants to know if Chris is dating someone else. However, Bobby becomes jealous at the question. When Demi walks by, Bobby pretends the car is his to impress her, but Shannon reminds him that Demi is already dating someone. Bobby walks away and watches the other counselors socializing, feeling left out. Jason notices and tries to cheer him up, but Bobby doesn't seem to remember Jason at all. Later at lunch, Ari argues with Claire for eating something that contains peanut butter, since he's allergic. Meanwhile, Bobby takes a bite of a burger Jason made but spits it out and tosses it into the woods because he doesn't like the taste. That night, while most of the counselors sit around a campfire, Demi is alone in her cabin, until a masked figure suddenly attacks and violently kills her. Back in his own cabin, Jason flips through old photos of himself, John, and Kathy, before being startled by Claire. She asks why he didn't join the others at the campfire, and Jason admits he feels like they don't really want him around. At the bonfire, Bobby tries to impress the others by attempting to jump over the fire on a bicycle, with the counselors cheering him on. However, when he hesitates for too long, Ari mocks him and angry, Bobby gives up on the challenge. Later that night, after everyone has returned to their cabins, Miley is alone in the mess hall when the devil-masked killer appears and murders her with a butcher knife. Hearing a noise, Mike steps out of his cabin to investigate and is also attacked. Meanwhile, during his routine checks, Jason notices that Demi never showed up at the bonfire and heads to her cabin. He knocks on the door and calls out to her, but gets no response. When he enters, he finds her dead and screams before running to the rec room, where the other counselors are hanging out. He frantically tells them what he saw, but they think he's playing a prank. Jason begs them to take him seriously and leave the camp immediately, however, none of them believe him. Disbelieving Jason's frantic claim that Demi was murdered, the group follows him to her cabin, only to discover her body is gone. Noelle, who is into the occult, points out the bloodstains on the bed and insists it's Demi's. Panic sets in, and everyone rushes to the cars to escape, but the tires are slashed and the engines won't start. With no other option, Jason, Chris, Bobby, Ari, Claire, Shannon, Ezra, and Noelle lock themselves in a bunkhouse, terrified that Mike and Miley are still outside, with the killer. Jason rushes to the place where the counselors' phones were kept but finds them missing. He suggests using the landline in the mess hall to call for help, but no one wants to risk going outside. Jason volunteers to go, but Claire insists he shouldn't go alone and says 2 people should accompany him. Still, no one steps forward, so to decide fairly, they play a card game. Ari and Ezra draw the lowest cards and are forced to join Jason on the trip to the mess hall. Back in the bunkhouse, Bobby shows the others a can of bear spray he brought, convinced that a bear killed Demi, thinking the burger he threw into the woods might have attracted it. At the mess hall, the group is disappointed to find the landline has been cut. While searching for any other working phone, they notice blood dripping from the refrigerator. When they open it, they're horrified to find Miley's severed head inside, and horrified, they scatter in different directions. Jason makes it back to the main bunkhouse, and when he sees that Ari and Ezra didn't return with him, he tells the others what happened. Noelle assures everyone that they'll come back, but as time passes, it becomes clear, Ari and Ezra are gone. Believing Ari and Ezra might be dead, Noelle suggests using a Ouija board to contact their spirits and find out what's happening. During the session, Ezra suddenly bursts into the bunkhouse, and startled, Bobby accidentally sprays him in the face with bear spray, mistaking him for the killer. Meanwhile, Ari has been captured and tied to a chair by the devil-masked killer. The killer dips a knife in peanut butter and forces Ari to eat it, triggering a deadly allergic reaction, and after Ari dies, the killer drags his body away. Back at the bunkhouse, Ezra, now wearing eyeglasses to deal with the effects of the spray, tells the others he knows who the killer is. He claims it's Jason, and everyone except Claire believe him, suspicious of Jason because of his age and the fact that he keeps returning to the camp. Jason insists he's innocent, but no one listens, and they tie him up, convinced he's the killer. The group decides to search the mess hall for tools to torture Jason into confessing, leaving Bobby behind to guard him. While Bobby is distracted, Claire grabs a fire extinguisher, knocks him out, and frees Jason.
Which means that we should go.
Yeah. Let's go. Okay.
As Jason and Claire try to quietly escape the camp, they're spotted by Shannon, Noelle, Ezra, and Chris. Before the others can go after them, Jason and Claire runs into the woods. Back at the bunkhouse, the remaining counselors debate their next move. Shannon suggests they search for their phones to call for help instead of waiting around for John and Kathy, and the others agree. Later, while alone in a cabin, Noelle is suddenly attacked and stabbed in the back by the masked killer. Just before she's finished off, a second person in a devil mask appears, revealing there are 2 killers. Noelle is brutally murdered when her head is smashed with a rock. Meanwhile, deep in the woods, Jason tells Claire he wants to return to camp. Even though the others think he's the killer, he feels responsible and wants to protect them, but Claire tries to talk him out of it. When they stumble upon the dead bodies of John and Kathy, Jason becomes even more determined to go back. Claire begs him to stay and go with her to find help, but Jason insists on returning to camp, and reluctantly, Claire leaves on her own. Meanwhile, Chris unexpectedly discovers that Demi and Mike are alive, and secretly in a relationship, and he quickly alerts the others. Shannon, Ezra, and Bobby are shocked to see them, and Demi and Mike are confused to hear that everyone believes Jason is the killer. In reality, Demi and Mike are the true murderers. Originally, they had planned a killing spree with the goal of becoming famous. Now, seeing the opportunity, they change their plan, deciding to frame Jason for the remaining murders and pose as the only 2 survivors, which they believe will make their story more compelling. Demi and Mike convince the rest of the counselors to film a video testimonial, claiming that Jason snapped and started killing everyone. Meanwhile, Jason returns to the camp, and grabs an axe for protection. He stumbles into a cabin, accidentally catching Mike in the middle of putting on his devil mask disguise. Before Jason can react, Mike knocks him unconscious. Outside, Bobby and Chris are taking turns keeping watch, while Ezra is inside the camp's theater stage rehearsing a play in front of Shannon. Suddenly, one of the masked killers sneaks up behind Ezra. Shannon tries to warn him, but it's too late. Ezra is struck and killed with an axe. Shannon's scream draws Bobby and Chris rushes into the theater to help. Inside, he finds Ezra's body, but Shannon is missing, and suddenly, he encounters the killer. Panicking, he makes a noise alerting the killer to his location, and Chris quickly hides inside a prop castle backstage. Meanwhile, Jason wakes up to find himself tied to a chair, with Demi guarding him. She removes the gag from his mouth, but when Jason screams for help, Demi coldly tells him that no one will hear him. Out in the woods, Claire has second thoughts and decides to return to the camp. Elsewhere, Shannon meets Bobby outside, and the two agree to head back to the theater to help Chris. Though hesitant, Bobby creates a diversion to draw the killer's attention, allowing Shannon to sneak inside and help Chris. The killer chases Bobby through the camp and into a cabin, where Claire, now back at camp, smashes a glass bottle over the killer's head. As the mask falls off, Claire and Bobby are stunned to see it's Mike. When Claire leaves to search for Jason, Mike suddenly attacks Bobby, and a brutal fight ensues. Mike throws Bobby around the cabin, grabbing a pocket knife, while Bobby arms himself with a burning log from the fireplace, accidentally starting a fire. Mike begins to overpower Bobby, but in a final surge of strength, Bobby grabs the dropped knife and stabs Mike in the neck. Mike retaliates, plunging the knife into Bobby's stomach before collapsing. Meanwhile, Claire arms herself with a bow and arrow and sneaks into the cabin where Jason is tied up, with Demi holding a knife to his throat. Jason gives Claire a subtle cue after a heartfelt admission about how his life has gone off track. As he signals her, Claire fires the arrow into Demi's eye. Still alive, Demi lunges at Claire with the knife, but Claire stomps the arrow deeper into her head, killing her. Seeing the cabin burning, Claire tells Jason about Bobby and he rushes in to save the injured Bobby. He apologizes to Jason for accusing him of being the killer earlier, to which Jason replies that it's okay. Thinking he might die from the stabbing, Bobby is reassured by Jason, who tells him he won't because the wound isn't deep. Meanwhile, Chris and Shannon, who also survived, admit their feelings for each other and later reunite with Jason, Bobby, and Claire. Near a lake, Jason thanks Claire for coming back to save him. They laugh, share a kiss, and rekindle their relationship as the movie ends. Okay guys, that's all the recap about Hell of a Summer from 2023. Thanks for watching, see you again in the next video.